you push a button, and it yells "shut up" at your dogs, and it slaps your cage, and it like stabs them with a needle that is like loaded up with some kind of juice, and it causes the dogs to, your choice, they can either pass out, or they can pass gas, or they can pass away.
Wouldn't it be easier just to bludgeon them?
Well, good morning, Tyler.
What do you mean, good morning? We don't have to do that bit, but I do love it. Good morning.
That's good, because I didn't want to.
I didn't want to either, to be honest. I don't know. This is the tiredest I've ever been doing this thing. I'm so tired.
Yeah, I agree. I am also so tired.
I don't think we've ever mentioned this, but we always record these very early in the morning. And for some reason today, I am wrecked.
Yeah. Well, it's ex nihilo nihil fit,
I do know. That's from Lovecraft too.
It's older than that, but yeah.
It is much older than that, but exactly said like that is from
Ex nihilo nihil fit,
Yes. We are really dragging this out here.
Well, we can drag anything when we're tired. Like my balls.
Hey, well, aren't you sitting down?
I am.
No, you're probably not dragging them then.
You don't know me.
No, it's true. What are we doing here?
Well, we are doing a podcast.
Oh.
The Super Whiskey Bros podcast.
Oh. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. It is. It's extremely exciting, because that means I get to drink whiskey that I love. For example, today I am drinking one of my favorite budget bourbons, Maker's Mark.
Budget bourbons. I wish I had some Maker's Mark. Actually, I do. That. Actually, I'd probably have to agree with you. That probably is my legitimate favorite budget bourbon. I do enjoy it quite a bit.
My number one favorite budget bourbon, and it may not be a budget bourbon in your area. Obviously, prices and whatnot, your mileage may vary. But a bottle of Elijah Craig small batch is only $5 more than a bottle of Maker's Mark where I am. And I love that
I still
stuff.
haven't tried it. You talked it up quite a lot, and I need to try it. I the other day, as you know, and if anyone who actually listened to this knows, I bought a bottle of Glenfiddich, and I absolutely detested it. And then I just haven't bought any more whiskey since then, because I was like, I don't like the idea of having a bunch of bottles around. I don't like to do that. And I don't go through whiskey all that quickly, because I'm not sitting here throwing back shots. Can you die while I'm not talking, please?
I can die all day, every day.
But yeah, I still have that laying around because I hate it, and I haven't bought anything new yet.
So is that what you're drinking?
No, I'm actually having the Gnawbone. It's the only other bottle that I have. I have 2 bottles, which is what I like to limit it to. Which is the Gnawbone is like it's the casket strength,
Funny you should mention that, because the only other bottle I'm sitting on is Glenfiddich myself.
I'd ship it to you if I could. I hate mine.
You can ship it through UPS. You just can't put it through the USPS.
You've learned something today, kids. You can ship all of your alcohol through UPS.
Yeah. Now, you're legally required to mark clearly on the box that it contains alcohol, but UPS doesn't scan their stuff like the USPS does sometimes. So just pack it really good and just don't say anything.
Yeah, The law is only there to make things worse, kids. Don't ever forget that.
Yeah. There's some laws there that are helpful. I promise you, interstate commerce laws are only there to make money for the wrong people.
Oh, absolutely.
By the wrong people, I mean not me.
Well, yeah. I'm actually giving them the money when that happens, so thank you on that account.
Yeah. 100 persons. Or percent.
100 persons.
Okay. Well, anyways, what we're talking about today. We were going to be talking about the Innsmouth Chronicles game series, duology, whatever you want to call it. But we're not. So instead of that, we realized that we haven't like really crapped on anybody in a while. Like the most recent crapping we've done was just on a game, and we didn't have anything against the makers of the game. We just thought it was a poor game. And so we haven't crapped on any people recently, and so we wanted to fix that. So we're talking about a video with which I am slightly familiar due to a response video by one of my favorite YouTubers, Rags. And that's my only information I have about it. I may say, if you watch Rags, I may say some of the same things he did. I may say something completely different. I don't remember what he said, and that's the way I like it. But the video title it's by Extra Credits, and it's called Evil Races Are Bad Game Design, Bioessentialism and World Building.
I don't want to make an assumption, just because I want to come into this, just clear-headed, make all of my nice. But just the title alone, I think I'm gonna stab it. I think I'm gonna stab my computer having to watch this video. I think it's gonna have to happen. I can't possibly believe that any kind of a really good, positive, accurate worldview is gonna come out of a title like this.
Now, so if the entirety of their argument that they're going to be making here would be if everything, like if every member of this race is evil and they cannot help it, therefore they're the bad guys because they're a member of this race, and that just makes it that way, then that is not creative. You should come up with better things. If that was the entirety of their argument, I would disagree, but I wouldn't hate them for it. Let's just say They have an argument and I hate them for it.
Yeah, gross. Dang it.
Anyways, so there are some aspects of this that are going to be visual. Those visual aspects will be present on the YouTube video. They will not be present on the audio-only podcast. So this is probably the only time. Yes, audio only tends not to have video elements. So this time, and probably this time only, you may, once you're done listening to this, if you're listening to it on your favorite podcast app, it may behoove you to go and watch the video again on YouTube. After you listen to it on the podcast app, and also after you've listened to it 3 or 4 more times on all your alternate accounts. But yeah, that is all we need to. I think that's all the background for this that we need. I am gonna put there are some things that you may need to see to help you understand what's going on here, and I'm not going to take the time to describe what is being shown. I may make a statement about it, but I'm not going to say this person is holding tweezers in their left hand and in their right hand they have a manicure set. I wonder if those go together. I'm not going to say anything like that. Anything too descriptive like that. So if anytime there's a visual element, that will be on the YouTube video, but you'll yeah.
I get it.
Okay. Yeah. So, anyway, the vidya. I'll push play. Actually, Tyler, you push play to see if you have pause and play privileges.
Let's push play.
If you paid attention to the game's discourse on the internet during 2019 and 2020, you might have noticed a reoccurring argument about some species from fantasy media, specifically orcs. Now, not to worry. This episode isn't going to be just another member of the chorus talking about how if all orcs in a game are blindly evil, that it's racist.
Hold on, I'm pausing. That's to me, that's foreshadowing right there. Because he said, we're not just going to be another voice of the chorus saying that if all orcs in this are blindly evil, then it's racist. But rest assured.
It's a special tool we'll use later.
Instead, we want to discuss how that particular choice is simply bad game design. Thanks so much to NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode. To take control of your internet security, get a huge discount on a 2-year...
We just want to clarify we are in fact not sponsored by NordVPN. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm sure NordVPN is now embarrassed that they sponsored this video.
Oof.
Real quick up top, please welcome James Mendez Hose, who guest wrote this episode. Thanks so much, Mendez.
Oh, also, I want you to say this. Yeah, he said earlier, we're not going to be part of that bandwagon that says, we're not going to be part of the bandwagon that says,
As you type away.
Yeah. Yeah, he said we're not going to be part of that bandwagon that says,
You're good at... I have faith in you. Keep
going.
going.
Yeah. That says all this stuff is racist. But it's so just remember that. It said we don't think that it's just blindly racist. Now, that's very important. To think. Yeah, it's very important to keep in mind that he said that, because
I want everyone listening to
where
realize
is
that
this?
Sean is doing his favorite thing, which is trying to do two things at once and utterly failing at the entire concept.
yeah, it's awful. Yeah, but let's see. I'm trying to find his
His what? This moment of silence is brought to you by ADHD.
ADHD all day. So yeah. So he said, so he made that statement. So then he also said it's written by James Mendez Hodes. You have to make a choice there. You can either say it's not just about how it's racist, or you can say, or you can say it was written by James Mendez Hodes. So let's look at this right here. A quick thing that was written by James Mendez Hodes just last year, called "The Most Important Point I Can Make About Orcs." He gives a quick description of it. I said, this is the most important thing you could ever say about orcs. And then he tagged it himself. It was on his website. And he called it In Gaming, Race, Social Justice.
Oof.
The next thing he wrote was how to change your conversations about cultural appropriation.
Oof.
Best practices for religious representation. Orcs, Britons, and the martial race myth. The fortune cookie incident.
I don't like this guy, do I?
The question, may I play a character from another race? And then here's his statement. My answer is yes, but please study how to do it. Yeah.
Live amongst them for a week.
I want to play I want to play Dungeons and Dragons with this guy. And I'm going to say
You definitely
gonna
cannot
be-
say that.
this whole long thing is going to be muted. And then obviously like in all Dungeons and Dragons things, I'm going to meet Mendez in a bar because they always meet in a bar or a tavern. And I'm going to walk up to Mendez and I say, okay, I walk up to Mendez's character.
I've studied them. Are you proud of me, Father?
Master, forgive me. I wonder if
Yeah, we
any
probably
single
can't say
word
that.
that I just said will make it to the...
No, I would say probably not. It's beautiful.
All right. Continue.
Much of the recent conversation on orcs points out that characterizing a whole species in your game as ugly, warlike, and malevolent might be harmful to real-world groups regularly mischaracterized as ugly, warlike, and malevolent.
Hold on.
Hold on. I'm gonna say the thing you're about to say. But
This is not the opinion of Super Whiskey Bros Incorporated. We here at Super Whiskey Bros do not think, in case you guys are wondering, and now I am going to describe this for the not YouTubers. There's a picture of an orc holding a cup of coffee and a black lady holding a cup of coffee. We here at Super Whiskey Bros do not think that black people are, what did he call them? Hold on.
I believe
We do not find black people ugly, warlike, and malevolent. That is their
credit
words,
does.
not ours.
Wow, thanks extra credit, you racist anuses.
Mendez wrote this episode of Extra
You
Credits.
did not illustrated.
Oh my.
Talk about problematic, buddy. Whoa. Okay. Let's write a game about how this is racist. By the way, how can I be really racist? I know. Keep going.
Ah.
I'll hit.
However, this video isn't that. Though if you want more on that discussion, Mendez breaks it down wonderfully over on his website, and we'll have a link to that in the description.
I'm sure he does.
Was it?
Oh. What do you say?
I was gonna say. I suppose you're wondering why I drew an old black lady next to an orc, saying that they were all evil and malevolent. Good night,
And
everybody.
ugly. Don't forget ugly.
How could I forget ugly?
Oh man.
I'll press play.
But here, we're going to talk about something related. Why characterizing a group like this in your game can be lazy at best, and at worst, actively harmful to the world you're creating.
Hold on, I gotta pause this. Designing a race that is inherently and actively evil, or that is inherently evil, can be harmful to the world you're creating. Yes.
Yeah.
That is because evil races are harmful to the world. That's why we put them in games, so we can have a reason to kill these things. We don't want to just go around willy-nilly killing people. We want to save the world. And how can we save the world unless there is an immediate existential threat to our world? Well, as it turns out, this existential threat can easily come in the form of an evil race. And why is it nice to say that it's coming in the form of an evil race, right? if it's coming in the form of an evil race, you never have to say, what are these people's motives? Is there any possibility that they could be friendly to us? Now, one thing I like to do is bring in an evil race and then have a single or two member be good, and it's talked about in Dungeons and Dragons that you can do that. Like no alignment is set in stone, but like if I'm making like a Lord of the Rings thing, I'm never gonna make a good orc. You may have a brief moment with an orc that is, the enemy of my enemy kind of moment, but besides that, orcs are evil, and and for the most part, even in Dungeons and Dragons, orcs are evil. Why are orcs evil? It's because of this. You're cruising through the world, you're looking around. My point is to protect the world from evil. If I see evil, I destroy it. And then you never have to go up to every single entity you come across and say, "Pardon me, are you evil?" You go up and you say, "Look, that is an orc, that is a kobold, that is a bugbear, that is a chromatic dragon." Well, that means these creatures are evil. I now have immediate license to, or not license necessarily, I'm not going to rephrase it as license. I now immediately have the knowledge that this creature is evil. That is not bad game design. That's only bad game design if the purpose of the game is to use detective work to figure out who's evil and who's not evil. If the only game I can think of that uses that depth detail of detective work is the Call of Cthulhu series, and even then, all the entities are evil or malevolent, if not evil. And it's the purpose of the game. Did I say the porpoise? The purpose of the game is not to discover whether or not these entities are evil. It's to discover what entities are causing the evil. Like, there is no game system that... hold on. I know of no single game system... There we go. that the purpose of the game is to discover who is evil so you can then fight them. It's these people are evil, or if you have someone who's not inherently evil, you give him a reason for being evil. He hates babies, and thinks that dogs, he thinks that wet dogs smell nice, and every time he sees an old woman, he slaps her on the butt, but he puts powder in his hand so that now they have a itchy butt, and he makes old ladies like that. And the last time you saw him, you caught him forcing gerbils to fight to the death with great swords, and wow, this man is truly evil. But that it's not lazy game design to have, to say everyone who's following. It doesn't have to be race, right? Because it doesn't. Any characteristic. Say if you have this characteristic, you're evil. It doesn't have to be an immutable characteristic. It could be everyone who's following this man is evil. Everyone who has a black spot on their left elbow is evil. You can make, if you're designing something, you can turn whatever you want to evil that you want to be. It's just as long as you can. The whole purpose is to identify the evil.
I'll give them a boon here. On the surface, just simply saying, and they might go into a little more detail that will make me retract a small amount here. But on the surface of just saying it's lazy, okay, I can see what you mean by it's lazy. Just be like, here's these and they're all evil. I understand what they're trying to get across by saying that, but it's worth mentioning. If we're playing an RPG, and you're either creating a world or you're trying to do something inside of an existing world, you're not writing a book. You're not spending hundreds of pages of backstory to explain yourself. We don't have time for that. If you are going to create a world like that and you want it to be that complex, then you can probably get around it. But you have people, you mentioned Tolkien earlier, so I won't jump into the Tolkien thing, but I will lightly touch on Sanderson here. He does it is currently doing it, and I don't know the whole way how, because I'm not all the way through all the books, obviously, but he is alluding at this point to how he is doing that, and he's doing it masterfully. I'm not going to dive into detail, but essentially, you can create a very, very, very creative narrative in which there is an evil race, and it's not lazy. It is not even a little bit lazy. It's just fantastic writing.
Yeah, and well, I will say this though. I don't want to get that far ahead. And I don't think it's any kind of spoiler at all to say this. The singers are not inherently evil, and that's what makes them interesting.
No, but I mean, like, he's it's like the investigative thing you're talking about. The people in the story are alluding to it, and getting there to the answer is really fantastic. So I mean, it's just fantastic writing the way they're approaching it. They're essentially being like, if you have a race that's evil, you suck. But it's also an example of what I was saying, like alluding to what I was saying just a second ago. It's a lot of writing that lets you get to the answer one way or the other. You don't have that ability, because they're talking about tabletop gaming right now. Or a video game, potentially, or whatever.
They kind of get into this a little bit more, and I don't know if I'm going to address this. Since I'm addressing it now, I don't know that I'll address it again. Then I probably will, because I like to address things. That's why I send so many letters. But
Hey,
they say something to, or I say they, I mean the entirety of extra credits, and then plus the narrator, plus Mendez. I'm not calling the narrator they. It's a dude. I don't know if he thinks he's a dude or not. I assume he realizes he's a dude, but he's a dude. Hot take. Dudes are dudes. But yeah, and he but he says something to the effect of, he says something to the effect of, it's okay if every member of a race happens to be evil. That doesn't have to be lazy. What's lazy is if you can safely assume, just by nature of them being that race, you look and say, let's go with orcs. You look and you see an orc, and it's safe to assume he's evil because he's an orc. That's what he's saying is lazy, and I think that's so retarded. So it's okay for them to incidentally all be evil. They just can't be evil because they're evil.
They can happen to be evil. They just can't inherently be evil. So if you write the book, it's like you're writing this game. Like, I just want to go ahead and clarify that while every single orc you encounter in this entire game will be evil, rest assured, it's not because they're inherently evil. You're just going to happen to run across all evil orcs.
Well, it's like,
good luck.
Yeah. Well, it's like when Dungeons and Dragons, they first said that no player character races are inherently one way or the other, or inclined one way to, no races in general, I think they said it, are specific. What the heck was that? Oh.
That was a beautiful sounding update.
Yeah. But that was the Dungeons and Dragons got rid of. They said no races are inherently one way or the other. Some races may typically gravitate towards one or whatever. But there's no, you're not in any way beholden to make a race that way. Which I don't know why they made that update to the books, because the books already stated that. But then they eventually got rid of the alignment system altogether, which they had a stupid reason for doing it, but I liked that decision from a gameplay perspective and roleplay perspective. The alignment system was kind of stupid, but I mean, it was good, but it wasn't. It was too rigid, I think. But anyways,
good but limiting.
Yeah,
but not good but limiting.
Yeah, good but limiting.
Limiting but not good. Mm-hmm. Limiting but not maximizing. I'm just doing this to annoy Sean. Keep going.
penis.
I made him forget.
Oh yeah.
Well, I did make him forget penis. He never could forget that.
Yeah, but like they announced the reason for it, and it was the same sort of thing that they put up that these people said. It's like, well, we're not going to say orcs have to be evil because of how much like orcs, because of how much like black people orcs are, and we don't think black people are inherently evil. And I read that, like, dude, who's saying that black people are like orcs?
Fun fact: I've never once ever, one, heard anyone say that, or two, have ever thought that. And I'm not saying it just so I can like pretend to have an edgy argument against this thing. I've never thought that. Not one time. Not one time I looked at an orc and been like, he looks black. If anyone's listening to this and they don't know what an orc is, first of all, I don't know what's wrong with you. But second of all, especially in the Dungeons and Dragons sort of realm, I mean, like, you're talking like generally this big, green, tusked, weird-haired. I mean, like, you don't look at that and think of any human being at all. Especially not an entire race of people that are, by the way, a very different color. And I don't know if you know this, black people don't have tusks.
They tend not to.
In case anyone here has never seen a black person before, they don't have tusks.
Yeah. But it's just,
thanks.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid to say that.
Let's keep playing some more of this video because we have to get through some more of this before I pass out.
Absolutely.
When designing a game's world and populating it with fictional species, a designer might be tempted to differentiate them from one another by certain inalienable qualities, like their moral alignment, violent versus peaceful, law versus chaos, good versus evil, and the like.
Yes. I will use certain inalienable qualities to differentiate my races. If there was any possibility that you might see an orc and mistake it for a butterfly, I have failed as a game designer. There must be inalienable qualities that differentiates your creatures.
Like tusks.
And if it's not lazy to make those qualities physical, then why is it lazy to make them moral?
It's this exact same thing. It's because this entire, I think we haven't said this yet, but I think we're going to have to before this is up. This entire thing is really all about just the social justice PC culture thing where it's like, no. It's because things look a certain way. I mean, that's what it's really coming down to. Someone somewhere, apparently, I didn't know this until you were saying it just now. Apparently, someone somewhere said, orcs look like black people. Orcs are racist. I can't believe you would make them. And now it's like, well, we have to change the entire game before someone thinks we might be a little bit racist, even though we're comparing black people to orcs in this very video.
Yeah, which is why I'm fine with the fact that people already think that we're a little bit racist. Now we can say whatever we want.
Well, not quite. Closer every day.
I can say whatever I want. See, watch this. Napalm strike incoming.
He did. I will confirm he wanted to say that. I hope there's not a napalm strike incoming. Hey, would you press play this time? I'm now holding a baby.
It's a common trope in speculative fiction, but especially in the context of a game. Painting an entire species with the same moral brush actually weakens the entire thing.
Why? How?
Because they've
Please
said so.
explain. Okay, let's see. Let's see if he explains why.
We'll go, give him a chance.
This idea that a certain subgroup, like race, nationality, or sex, has inalienable traits is called biological essentialism, or simply bioessentialism. And it's a valid way to talk about qualities like how many legs an animal has, or whether it can fly.
But for some reason...
For some reason, we're bringing it up now.
But all too often, this concept gets misused in untrue statements, like pit bulls are a violent breed, men are more logical than women, or Asians are better at math.
Let me go back to this here. Okay, so we have this picture of, I want to say cute. Pit bulls aren't
It's pretty cute.
It's a
puppy's
little
cute.
bit. Yeah, the puppy is. And that's the thing. Like, pit bulls are ugly dogs, right?
Oh, I'm gonna stop you because I think they're very cute. But keep going.
Okay, that's fine. Either way, though, I don't like pit bulls, but not for the reason that the world tends not to like them. They're just not my preferred dog type. But it's just a personal preference, not a pit bulls are evil. But right, okay, so
That's speciesist.
yeah, so
No, he's typing. He's not gonna be able to talk.
No, I'm good here, right?
He lied
so-
to you.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be able to talk. Let's look at this at this statistic here, right? So, we have where's the statistic talking about dog bites by breed, or here, right, top 10 most fatal dog breeds table. Okay, so say pit bulls are violent dogs. Well, obviously they are only violent if you raise them to be violent.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking about, they say statistically speaking, statistically speaking, pit bulls are the most violent dogs, right? So if you look at this, if you look at the percentage of total deaths by dog breed, the percentage of the total deaths, 65.6% of dog bite related deaths, came from pit bulls. What I'm saying is, despite only making up of 13% of dogs, pit bulls are responsible.
And that's all that we mean by that. Obviously. Or just saying, if you see a pit bull coming at you, you cross the street and you walk on the other side of the road.
Walk on the other side of the road as a pit bull.
We
need
play
to-
the video.
Yeah, like we need to set up a non-pit bulls only dog park.
Yeah. If we could segregate the pit bulls away from the rest of the dog population.
But seriously though, it's like, why do people say that pit bulls are the most violent? Well, it's because looking at the statistics, you can't say there are more pit bulls than any other dog, right? Let's say all things being equal, there are exactly as many pit bulls as every other kind of dog. And there's not. There are a little. They're not the most popular dog, right? But let's say it is. That still means they're responsible for approximately 2/3 of dog-related deaths. That would statistically make them the most violent.
Yeah, so that's the thing. What you said earlier is the case. They're only violent if they're raised to be violent. Two of my favorite dogs in the entire world are mine and my wife's best friend's dogs. They're both pit bulls. I love them to death. I'm about to go let them out this morning after we're done doing this. They're amazing dogs. I let them around my baby all the time. They're fantastic. Mm-hmm. Also, if I'm out and about, walking around the city, and there's on one side of the street, there's a Chihuahua coming at me. On the other side of the street, there's a pit bull coming at me. I can tell you which one I'd rather be close to, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
The one I can kick across the street to distract the pit bull while I run away.
Yeah, that made me think of a video that I saw. A dude was sitting on his front porch, and the neighbor's dog got loose, and it came bounding over. And the dude pulled out his. He didn't until the dog got like really close to him in that manner, and he pulled out his concealed carry and shot the dog. And the neighbor, was very unhappy, and I think I would also be unhappy if someone shot my dog. But
Sure.
he gave an explanation. The guy said something, and like if it was my dog, I would completely understand at that point. It was this. The guy said, "Hey, what were you doing? He wasn't going to hurt you." And I said, the guy said, "I don't know your dog. I didn't know he wasn't going to hurt me. And did you see how he was running and snarling at me?" Like, if that
I
was
don't
my
care if
dog,
he
I'd
wasn't
say,
gonna hurt me.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Absolutely, I get
like-
that.
Like, he wasn't going to hurt you. He hurt me. I was like, well, I didn't know that, so I made sure he wasn't going to hurt me.
Like, did you want me to wait until he did or didn't? Anyways,
We've made a
how
hard
did we
left.
get on that? Oh, we definitely weren't
video.
going left.
No. No, we were not.
Now, chances are, if a game is set in the real world, that the designers are avoiding these tropes because they aren't real, as multiple fields of societal and hard science can readily prove to you.
So, that's yes and no, isn't it?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's
The Asians
yeah,
are good
it's-
at math thing. Yeah, they don't wake up and become better at math, but let's be honest. A lot of them are much
Yeah.
better at math.
They tend.
There's a reason
to
why
be,
the statistic is there.
Yeah, see, like that's the thing. Like, if you look at decisions made, why decisions are made, and what's done, and who's where, then you say that. Like, you say Asians are better at math. That is technically false. Asians tend to be better at math. Mexicans tend to put 850 people in the same van. Men tend to be more logical, less emotional than women. Like, to just say that is true makes this. It does say that is true across the board, which is obviously not true. But that's the thing, though. You have to do that on a technicality, because if you look at a statistical trend and you say, look, there are more Asians who are better than math than there are Puerto Ricans. More Asians are better at math than Puerto Ricans. So, when I say, at that point, I say, hey, did you know that Asians are better at math than Puerto Ricans? I'm not saying every single Asian is better than every single Puerto Rican at math. I'm saying, look at this statistical trend. I can see that, statistically, Asians are better at math than Puerto Ricans. Also, watch someone bring up a study now, and I picked exactly the wrong group, and Puerto Ricans are the best in the world at math.
He's phenomenal at math. but that's the thing. It's asking you to say, in a scenario that you can say all this stuff to your blue in the face. I get it. They're trying to get away from generalization, and I can respect the concept of not wanting to generalize. I really can. I understand. But also, when the reason why all of these jokes that are now racist and all of these preferences people have that are now racist, and all these things that used to just be the norm that are now racist, and I don't mean having slaves, calm down, all these things that used to be the norm were there because it was a statistical thing. These things happened more. This race tends to do this, and that's fine. They're allowed to have a culture. Stop culturally appropriating them. No, wait, that's the wrong term. Keep culturally appropriating them. But I mean, if you put 3 children in front of me, like, here is a 14-year-old
That's
boy
a
from Japan.
smorgasbord.
Delicious. Here's a 14-year-old boy from Japan. Don't put those two sentences together. Here's a 14-year-old boy from I don't know, Spain. Here's a 14-year-old boy from the United States. Which one of them do you think has had a much more rigorous education based on their culture? Guess what? It's going to be the boy from Japan.
Yes.
Just simply because that's where they put their focus as a culture. Good for them. They're making themselves smarter. Quit acting like that's a generalization.
I can't believe you'd call the Spanish stupid, Tyler.
I've just inferred it, haven't I?
I inferred it. You implied it.
Oh. I always get those two mixed up. It's like annoying.
Yeah. It depends on who's doing it versus who's saying it. So I'm the one that said it. So if I do it, I'm implying it. If I said it and you do it, you inferred it.
I'm too old not to know the difference. Keep playing the video.
But speculative fiction offers us an opportunity to reify or make real various things which don't exist, or to exaggerate things which do.
Yeah, that's the point.
Thank you.
Now, bioessentialism is a tempting idea in fantasy for some of the same reasons as it is in the real world. Because to our human minds, broad generalizations are comforting. They reduce the world to simple cut-and-dry categories.
I don't understand what's wrong with those doors. Those doors were
either.
accurate. It was...
All I know is this orc's got some great boobs.
Yeah, they said green, blue, and other. The green door was... The door labeled green was green. The door labeled blue was blue, and the door labeled other was neither blue nor green.
Perfect.
I
Nailed it.
absolutely.
You're correct. Keep going. Well done.
All orcs bad, all elves good. Root for these folks, not for these folks.
Boy, that's simple, isn't it?
I like it. It's also not the case.
Also, yeah, I'm gonna say all orcs bad, all elves good. That is that's obviously not the case, and that's not been the case in. That's not been inherently the case in anything. Like go to Lord of the Rings. Yes, all the orcs are bad.
All the elves were not good.
Yeah, not all the elves were good. There are plenty of very bad elves. See, the difference between the elves and the orcs was that the elves had a moral choice, and the orcs, because they were so twisted and made evil by Melkor, they did not have the opportunity to make that moral choice. So you could actually say that. So, okay. So here's one thing too. How are we defining evil, right? And that is, these creatures have they inherently have evil desires, and those evil desires, those desires that are objectively considered evil, and obviously people are going to act on their desires. For them, oftentimes they'll act on their desires, and therefore they will do, whatever it is that they'll do, whatever it is that they're doing. So if you have evil desires, then you will perform evil actions, and you are evil. But what is it that makes you evil? Is it having the evil desires, or is it doing the evil things? So is an evil race a race that cannot help but act on its evil desires that it has, or is the race just the fact that it has those evil desires?
Which, by the way, is culture.
So, if I have, if I have a bunch of evil desires, does that make me evil? Or am I evil because I do the evil things that are based on my evil desires? So if the thing that makes a creature inherently evil is the fact that it has no impulse control, or is it the fact that it has the evil desires? And neither of those are lazy explanations. It's like,
They're very in-depth explanations.
Yeah, so those are the two ways to make an evil race, and neither of them are lazy. The first one is this creature. All of this creature's desires are evil, and it cannot help but act on them. The next one is all of these creatures. This creature has evil desires, and this creature, for whatever reason, will always choose to act on those evil desires. And then say, why do the creatures always choose to do that? And then say, oh, because they have an evil culture. Those things are brought up as good in their culture. Like, for example, the Urgles, right? The Urgles are evil. Evil Urgles. Also, if you make if you look at the Urgles, the reason why Urgles are evil is because the things that they hold to be moral and just and good are pillaging, slaughtering, and raping. And so therefore they are, from the objective standpoint, considered evil, because those things that they consider to be virtuous and just are things that the objective world considers to be evil. That's what makes them inherently evil, because it's switched in their minds. They are, in their own minds, just, but objectively they're evil.
That's the problem. The real problem with this video is that if you're going to make the claim that this video is making, you're not thinking hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
You're not delving deep enough. You're just scratching the surface and going, I see a problem on the surface of this issue, therefore the entire thing is wrong. No need to think about it. We're done.
Yeah. And they make the statement later, and I'll go ahead and address it now. They said that, is the creature really evil? And they kind of implied one thing, and that is, it cannot help but act on its evil desire. So effectively, this evil creature is an animal. It's not sentient. So up on the screen right now, we have a crocodile and a slime. Or maybe a gelatinous cube, I'm not sure. But that's what we have up on the screen. The thing is, neither of those creatures are sentient. Both of those creatures act on instinct only. So if these creatures are born with instincts that are objectively evil, then those creatures are objectively evil if they are just creatures that act on instinct and have no impulse control, like an animal. That makes them evil. But then they made the argument of, but so if that's just their nature and they can't help it, then maybe the actions they do are evil, but are they truly evil because they're not choosing to do the evil things? And the answer is yes.
Spoilers.
Or the thing is, maybe they're not truly evil because they're not choosing to do the evil things. They're just acting on instinct and have no impulse control. And my response to that is, okay, maybe they're not truly, genuinely evil. They still need to be put down.
No. We're only a third of the way through this video. We've been on here for a while. We should really power through some more of it before we vomit.
But just like in the
Absolutely.
real world, bioessentialism can present problems in fiction as well. Specifically, a moral one. The idea that a sapient species can inherently tend towards good or evil acts, or lawful or chaotic ones. And that moral essentialism actually undercuts the greatest strength games can bring to storytelling.
That's not the greatest strength games can produce storytelling. If that's what you
No.
think is the greatest strength of storytelling, please never tell me a story. I like to think of myself as a fairly decent storyteller, game master. Moral essentialism has never come up because it's not important to the story. What is important to the story is that there are bad guys. Very rarely is it important why the bad guys are bad. There will be one BBEG. If you don't know BBEG, it's Big Bad Evil Guy. And he typically has a good reason for being evil. His minions don't need a reason.
They're minions.
Maybe there's a quick thing. This man is so charismatic, he's able to convince anyone to be evil for the most part. But that's just going to be mentioned once and glossed over. It's like, wow, that's why all these people are following him. Oh, okay, kill him. You know, the story is not about why are these evil? Why do they do what they do? It's why, what is the cause of the problem? What can we do to solve the problem? Because the story is not about the bad guys. The story is about the heroes.
Yeah, and not to mention, side note here, if you've ever read A Hero's Journey, Joseph Campbell, he breaks down the concept of every story ever told has been told like this, and he's absolutely right. He's absolutely correct in the way that he lays out the hero's journey. Approximately where on the hero's journey is the moral essentialism, Sean?
Let's see. I'm counting on my fingers. It's not.
Yeah, there it is. It's not. And onward we press.
The player's own power to make meaningful, interesting choices and judgments for their characters, including moral ones.
By the way, go back to that. It showed an orc sharing food with a human. I don't know who offered the sharing or whatever. And yeah, so that's the and so now you have a race that's considered to be inherently evil, being good. And why was that interesting? That it showed they drew that on there to show that they wanted you to see an evil character, an inherently evil creature being good. So why is that interesting? Because that would actually make for an extremely interesting character. When you have an evil race, the question isn't why are they evil. It's when you see one that's not, you say, why is this one good?
Right. And a flip on that. Basically what they're doing here is they're introducing the concept of saying, like, you should explore whether any character you encounter is evil. So let's put that in the terms of a video game. Or it could be an RPG too, but we'll talk about for a video game. If every single thing that you encounter, let's say God of War, where you essentially just have like a horde of enemies coming at you, a lot of them look the same, and they're all just they all look the same within their design types. If you had to check every one of those guys to make sure they're bad before you killed them, no one would have played that game. If you're out at war in real life and every single person in an enemy's uniform coming at you with a gun, you would have to discern whether or not they're there to shoot you, you would die. So maybe, just maybe, things are separated this way to make it an easier experience on the surface. And maybe that's good enough, and maybe it's not racist.
I wouldn't even say an
Just
easier
maybe.
experience. I wouldn't say an easier experience. I would say that's the only way to craft a fun experience.
Right, but I mean, like, these people are clearly saying this is not what you should be doing. They're saying there's other ways, and I'm like, there's not.
Like, if I want to vet everyone that I meet, I would play Papers, Please.
Great game. Great game.
It actually is a good game, but it's
literally,
not a combat
literally just
game.
vetting. It's literally
Yeah,
just
like,
vetting.
Yeah, it's not a combat game. If it were a combat game, I'd hate it. Anyways.
So if a game's creative choices apply a moral valuation to every member of an entire species before the players even meet them, well, now that's just taking that power away from the players.
No,
Okay,
no, and they don't get that power.
Yeah, that's the thing. The players do not deserve that power. It was never a power that I took away from you. You never had the power to decide who was evil and who wasn't. I'm the dungeon master. I decide who's evil. And then what popped up on the screen here was a character with a D on their shirt. I assume D for DM. Pointing at some creatures who were waving, and said, "All of them evil." And this person who has a spear, I assume is the player, is angrily saying, "I'll decide that." Well,
No,
see,
you
here's
won't.
the thing. Here's the thing. If I, as a dungeon master, I have told you that these creatures are evil, and you, without a good reason, say, "I don't think they're evil. Let me go have a tete-a-tete with them."
You're getting party killed.
I promise you, you're going to be stabbed. Not by me, by the creatures. And if you keep doing it, maybe by me. But yeah, so,
You're getting party killed. Period.
and the creatures are waving to imply that they're not evil, even though the DM said they were.
One's
Well,
even saying "we."
Yeah, and the thing is, if I'm the DM and I say these creatures are evil, and they walk up to you and they're waving at you, they're trying to lure you in close for the kill. I guarantee it, because they're evil. Do you know why? Do you know how you know they're evil? Because I said they're evil. If I'm the dungeon master, I'm always right. If you look at the rule book and say, "Hey, look, the thing you did doesn't match the rule book," I will point to the other rule and the thing that says the DM is always right.
And then Sean will point to the piece of paper he wrote next to his paper that says "bite me."
I'll point to the piece of paper that says, "We're gonna punch you right in the balls."
And then he does.
And it's stupid. Now, the only reason why the player, there are two times a player would not believe that a creature is evil after the DM says that they are. These are the only two times. The first one is you have a stupid player that says, "I know the DM said they're evil, but I think I might be able to make friends with them." That's a stupid player. Or I guess I take that back. The player may say, try to do a story thing, say, "I know these creatures are evil, but if I can make friends with them, then I might be able to blah, 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 blah." But at least that player is still recognizing that they're evil. So that's not a stupid player, but he recognizes that they're evil. But if a player says, "The DM said they're evil, but I don't believe that they're evil, and I'm going to go make friends with them," that player's dead. The other time a player may do that, and this could be the DM's fault, right? The DM has said or implied that these creatures are evil, but then doesn't do a good job of showing them as being just inherently evil. Like, maybe they're just kind of annoying. And then the players are thinking, "Oh, maybe these guys aren't so bad after all." Well, that's the fault of the DM. And I've probably been guilty of that myself. It's like, "Hey, this mosquito is evil." He ain't that bad,
He's all right. His name's Steve. He's cool.
His name is Mastivo.
Oh no! Play the. Oh God! No! Play the video. Ugh.
And in turn, if a group of orcs, for instance, doesn't even have a choice about their actions, are they actually evil?
Yes.
Because look, if a person, say, destroys a house, we call that evil because they chose to do so.
Yes.
What? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Correct.
Yeah.
But if a tornado destroys a house, well, I mean, is wind evil? No.
So, if a person
wrong.
destroys a house, why are you picking destroy a house anyway? Right? I don't think.
because
When
it
I think of
allows
an
you-
evil action.
It's allowing them to bring in something without sentience to make the same action, so that you can
Yeah.
have the argument that it is now worse for the thing with sentience to make the action, and saying you've taken the sentience away from this thing. Also, orcs don't have to destroy a house every time they walk by it, and frequently they don't.
Also, here's another thing. Trollocs do, I believe. But anyways, you don't know about Trollocs yet, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that series at a later date. But so here's what's good. Or what's correct, I should say. We have a destroying a house isn't inherently evil, right?
No.
So let's go something, because I may destroy my own house, right? I may want to build a house and my old house is in the way. So I'll tear down my old house, I'll destroy it so I can do that. So let's go with something that is inherently evil. For the most part, killing people. For the most part, killing people is inherently evil. So let's look at that. Okay, so if I choose to kill someone, and it's not in self-defense, it's not an act of war, I'm a murderer, I'm murdering someone. If I choose to kill someone, I am evil. Also, if a tiger comes up and kills someone, is that tiger evil? Can you call that tiger evil? Maybe not, but it still needs to be put down.
Correct. We also, the illustration they gave there with the tornado destroying the home, being like, well, is this evil? Well, no. Do we want it around? No.
Yeah, like if I had a thing that said press this button to eliminate the tornado that's coming to destroy the house, I'd push it every time a tornado popped up.
I will press it. I will press the button. Like, I don't know, Sean. Maybe it isn't evil. Don't press the button. Wait, I think it's friendly.
It's so stupid.
Let's keep
So
going.
stupid. Also, they are showing, it said, is wind evil? And they're showing a picture. The wind that they're showing is, in fact, evil.
Yeah. It's a baby farting
Trust
on
me
a
on
person.
this.
I love that we said we're not going to describe these pictures. We've described all the pictures. Play the video.
Yeah.
Therefore, if a game's world building chooses to program every member of a species to destroy, aren't they more like the tornado?
Sure.
Yes.
That's fine. Yeah.
That's okay, though.
But
As we have now said 4 times. Now, if the player's characters are able to make moral choices, but an entire class of NPCs is inherently evil regardless of their choice, then the game is either telling the player that moral choices don't matter, or it's simply driving a wedge between the player's morality and the morality that applies to the rest of the world, blocking the player from further becoming a part of it.
yes, kind of. That is kind of true. It is kind of driving a wedge between the player's morality, or the character's morality, and the morality of the rest of the world. And I'll tell you why that is. Because you're playing as the good guys, and you're the one that has to make the moral choices. It makes the moral choices a lot more better when you aren't trying to figure out the motives of everyone else. When you're sitting there and you're like, I need to make the moral choice to strike down this enemy. I say, the enemy is evil and he wants to kill babies. Then you're like, this is a much easier moral choice for me. And then you say, I want to make the moral choice to strike down this enemy. And you say, well, this person has killed someone in the past. A few years ago, she murdered someone in cold blood, but now she's a sweet old lady that bakes cookies. You're saying, And that's going to drag the game out, deciding whether or not you want to kill the old lady. We're not here to figure out whether or not you want to kill old women. We're here to have fun and play a game. It's not fun. And that's the thing, is poor game design. It is not. Good game design is what makes the game fun. Evil races where you know this is bad increases the fun.
And not to mention, you're talking back to like the cultural. This comes back to like what they're ignoring here is the concept of culture inside of a game. We'll go back to the orcs again. The orcs' culture is to kill all these people. The orcs' culture is to get rid of these people. They don't like them. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know culturally, this individual you're fighting, let's say they're not evil. Let's say the orc isn't evil. Culturally, it doesn't matter if he's evil, because culturally, he's going to stab you. So you stab him. We don't need to stop and worry about if he's evil, because you've still got to kill him before he kills you.
And that's the whole point too. Is are these really evil? How are they evil? What makes them inherently evil? The whole point is that you're looking at this from the perspective, like from a neutral perspective. So this creature inherently has the goal of destroying and killing, and that is their inherent goal, which means that they are inherently, objectively evil. Like, whether or not, like, then maybe you can look at it and say, but look, they have such good cultural or, special reasons for doing what they're doing, and how can you call them evil when they're so complex? And like this is like, well, they're still objectively evil because they choose, whether or not they choose to, they have the desire and act on the desire to do these things, and that desire and then acting on the desire is inherent to them. Is your child scratching your microphone?
Actually, I was.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's like, it's good to have evil.
For instance, in Warhammer 40k, this inconsistency is central to the Imperium of Man's villainous creed. Individuals' human choices make them good or evil, whereas aliens are created evil.
Okay,
yes.
So yes and no. Warhammer 40k is different. Warhammer 40k is told from the perspective of humans, and they say, yes, all orcs are evil, and we are either good or evil. But then if you look at it from the orcs' perspective, it's the exact opposite. And if you take a step back and look at Warhammer 40k, there are no good guys. That's the point of Warhammer 40k, is there are no good guys. This is the worst possible, the worst possible description, or the
example.
choice. Yeah, because in Warhammer 40, everyone is evil in Warhammer 40k. That's kind of the point of it.
And of course, Games Workshop made that choice to facilitate a war game where lethal violence is the only option. But then folks also saw that in the 40k novels and RPGs, which required more interesting narrative complexities, Imperial heroes have to grapple with and recognize the illogic of that creed based on their own experience. Okay, but now you might be asking, what if you're playing the kind of game where you're engaging in violence because it's exciting and fun, not because of its moral dimensions, where the meaningful choice is about tactics rather than ethics? Maybe the goal is to take moral calculus out of the problem. Sure, one solution might be saying, all orcs are evil, go ahead and shoot them.
Yes.
That's all the games. Yeah, that's all the games. That's nearly every game.
Fantastic.
Maybe you're making the kind of game that everyone's making. Yeah, we are. We are. We absolutely are. Keep going.
But in that situation, as soon as someone inadvertently feels some empathy, as people often do for anything seeming even vaguely alive, the easy answer becomes less easy.
If I create my orcs so that you feel empathy for them, I've created my orcs wrong.
Write a book about this then. Write a book about this stuff and make all these moral dilemmas you want. That's fine. Make a story about it. I get it. Stop pretending like this belongs in a game.
Yeah, that's the thing. This could make for an interesting story. It could not make for a fun game.
No.
Like, you cannot have both the moral dilemma. I say that. I'm sure there's someone who's good enough at what they're doing to make a moral dilemma and a fun game. And a fun combat game. But it would be extremely, extremely difficult. And you're already spending the time making the game. You don't need to also spend time doing that.
Yeah, you don't have to sit around worrying about becoming racist just because you don't want to have a moral dilemma. That's what essentially what they're saying is, be careful, you're going to be racist.
Yeah. Do you know who did do a good moral dilemma in a combat game very, very well? Or what game did that very, very well?
No.
Dark Souls.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the whole
You do
purpose
feel
from the
very
beginning
morally
is-
dilemmatic.
Yeah, the whole purpose from the beginning is they're saying, you're supposed to do this thing. This is the right thing to do because this is what these good guys want you to do. And then the more you play through the game, if you pay close attention and talk to people and look at items, and like if you just play through the game, you're like, yeah, the good guys want me to do this. Ha 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 ha. But then if you like pay really close attention to everything and listen to everything and look at what is going on everywhere, if you pay super close attention, you start thinking, are these really the good guys? And it's done very well. So yeah,
and
it's possible.
Yeah, and the thank you kindly. I mean, those kind of things. Those types of things in games.
Oh,
yes, they're fantastic.
that was pretty good. But there
It's
was no moral
fantastic.
dilemma there. There was no moral. It's just a plot twist.
Exactly. But that's what they're trying to play this on. It's the same concept they're trying to put across here, and it's just you can't argue that point. All their like this entire video's only point is essentially to say we're not going to say that you're racist if you do this. We're going to say why it's lazy. You haven't shown me why it's lazy. You haven't. You've shown me why it makes perfect sense to do everything we're talking about. If you're talking about writing a book, I'll keep saying this because it's the only real thing that makes any sense to me to keep going with what they're doing. If you're writing a very, very, very in-depth story, a very, very, very in-depth video game, or let's say you're doing a D&D campaign you expect to last for months, okay. Then you have to slowly bring in the moral dilemma. Like you're saying with Star Wars, with Dark Souls. You have to slowly bring in that moral dilemma. You can't just wake up. You're in the game. You don't know what's right or wrong. Yeah. Shoot an orc and, I don't know, I can't do it. But what I'm saying is,
Shoot an orc and blow his little face off.
That's actually very good, thank you. You can't start the game, make things that are clearly trope good guys, trope bad guys, and then all of a sudden be like, oh, and by the way, there's a moral dilemma. You don't know if anything's good or bad. Well, that's stupid. Like, there's an orc in your party. He's a good guy. You're now in a dungeon. There are 3 orcs. What do? Do you stop and talk to them, or do you shoot them in the face? This is stupid.
Yeah, well, I will say, though, like, say you had an orc or a half-orc in your party, you could be like, hey, I don't know, we may not be able to take these other 3 orcs. Hey, Tyrone, will you talk to those other and see if we can talk our way out of this so we don't have to fight? I could see that.
Also, not just to go ahead and clarify, thanks extra credits for saying that all black people are orcs.
Yeah, it was because of them that I named the orc Tyrone. I had never thought about that until just then.
Yeah, thanks extra credits. You made Sean racist.
But yeah, and that sort of stuff could be interesting. Like, you have a member who's not evil for some reason, and now he has a connection with them, and he's able to maybe not convert them, but de-aggro some situations involving them. That could make for some interesting stuff. But it doesn't.
But why?
But it doesn't change the fact that for some reason this guy's good, but the rest are evil.
Yeah, so that's the thing. But why are we de-aggroing them? Because they're aggroed. Why are they aggroed? They're the bad guys.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the whole point of the game, of the thing, right? It's not that the races are evil. It's the bad guys are evil. And it's whoever I pick as the bad guys are going to be evil. Sometimes I do pick a story where the bad guys are good. They're just less good. I've done that before. Sometimes I've made a story where the good guys were evil. They were just less evil. I'll do both. I'll go take the stories both ways, and that makes for an interesting story. But it doesn't change the fact that the bad guys are there to be killed. Whether or not you want to call them evil, you kill the bad guys. And if the bad guys, and so if the bad guys are all members of a certain race, then within that story, that race is the bad guys.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, hold on. Whoa, I lost my train of thought, didn't I? Yes, there we go. If you really want to make a game where the entire concept, like you're saying, the most important thing is the moral dilemma, that's the most important thing. You know what? Go ahead. You go make that game. You find the people that are interested in it, and you go do whatever it is you want to do. And you all pat yourselves on the back for being so progressive and so fantastic that we have conquered racism. We've made a game where the most important thing is the moral dilemma, and all of the races are not inherently evil. That sounds like the most boring thing I can possibly imagine.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you.
Because if it's still going to be combat involved, you still have to know who the bad guys are. And then, if they just say, by the way, the bad guys are comprised of these 12 bad guys you see. They're comprised of one orc, one kobold, one bugbear, one human, one elf. If that's the case, though, I know the bad guys are that mixed up. How do I know who the bad guys are?
That's what we're saying. Yeah, like so you have to engage every single part and just be like, hey, who do you fight for? Are you in our way of doing stuff? And let's assume we're gonna go and approach them. Well, what if they're evil? Now you've approached them and they're just gonna start hurting you. You have to do that every single time. You're just gonna lose all kinds of health points in your game because you have to make sure that they're not bad. You have to approach them and give them the attack of opportunity every time. This sounds stupid to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that's like if you go up to an enemy and you say, pardon me, enemy, do you worship the evil god Yob Cadoodle? And he says, no,
and they go,
no, I don't. They say, I absolutely do not worship Yob Cadoodle. You say, then we can be friends then. And you go put your arm around him, and he pulls out a boot knife and stabs you in the chest and says, I worship Yob Cadoodle.
JK. Also, by the way, that would technically be considered the attack of opportunity. You now take an extra 2d6 of damage. You're dead, and please never play with me ever again.
Although I shouldn't have any players anyway if my gods are named Yob Cadoodle.
That's actually pretty fantastic. Let's finish this video. I'm getting tired of looking at these stupid cartoons.
And if the goal of your game is to stop players from engaging in moral debates and just fight some bad guys, you kinda gotta say something more reliable than, oh, it's fine, they were all born this way.
No, I don't.
Why?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have to
Why
do
do I
that.
have to do that?
I don't have to do that. No, I don't.
They were born this way.
They were. Lady Gaga was also evil. Hit the button.
Fortunately, the real world's made progress on this problem, because sometimes in this day and age, people actually
look,
bear visual signifiers.
this sign
which
is
say,
true.
I'm evil.
This man is evil because of his bad decisions. I believe it. I absolutely agree
Correct.
with that. Only correct thing he said all day.
Not because of where I was born, but because of the choices I've made, such as Nazi uniforms and clan hoods.
And we've taken a left again.
Hey, this isn't about racism. Why did they pick the only two groups that are specifically known for racism?
I notice we don't see any uniforms of the military from Mao's China. That's interesting.
We don't see any Black Panthers.
No.
No.
We also don't see any people in Iraq uniforms showing all of that kind of stuff. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Oh, okay. I was saying, I obviously, I'm not exactly aligned with the Black Panthers, but a Black Panther said something, and it made me smile. It made me happy, and I enjoyed what he said. Someone came up to there was a bunch of Black Panthers out there, and they were all holding rifles. Which, do it. Hold the rifles. Keep your rifles. I love to see people bearing arms. So yeah, I'm glad the Black Panthers had their rifles. Oh, by the way, Black Rifle. I don't know if they did it since he was acquitted, but there have been a couple occasions when Black Rifle did denounce Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm very, very upset with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I will not buy any more Black Rifle coffee. I will strictly be buying Warrior Poet Society coffee.
Interesting.
But anyways, it's the same price too. I don't know why I haven't bought it before. I guess it's because they only released it last month. But that could be why. But they have a. What the heck was I talking about? Oh yeah, but a news reporter came to this Black Panther, and saw him with a rifle. He had an AK-47 pattern rifle, and I don't know if it was actually a Kalashnikov, but it was that style of rifle, and he was holding it, and she saw him with it, and she said, is that gun loaded? And this man, he looks at her and says, how stupid would I have to be to carry an unloaded gun?
Spot on.
Anyway, Nazis.
Then in fiction, we have things like the Hydra logo, a clear visual signifier, but one that denotes choice, not birth. And if the statement that a game is making with its backstory and symbols is that an enemy had a choice and they chose wrong, then that gets way less complicated for a game that's interested in uncomplicated violence.
No. The
opposite of that is true. The opposite of that is true. If I see a man who's choosing to do evil, why did he choose to do evil? Is there any redemption for this man? Do I just immediately kill him? How can I help him? Does he deserve death, or does he, maybe he's actually the good guy. Maybe he has legitimately good reasons for doing what he's doing. However, if he's a member of a race who's inherently evil, he's evil, and that's it. He deserves to die. See how less complicated that is?
And here's the thing. They've finally reached their answer to this. Here's how we fix it. They're saying this isn't about racism, it's about laziness. Okay, so you must have some profound, fantastic answer. Yep, make him wear an outfit. That's way lazy. So it was about race. It was about race the entire time, or you wouldn't have said this stupid thing at the end.
They shouldn't all look the same. That's lazy. Instead, you should make them all look the same.
My God, it's amazing. Let's finish it up. We got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So whether a game does or doesn't want its players to overthink their characters' moral choices, evil as a choice is just more effective than evil as a bioessential trait.
No. False. Independent fact checkers have found.
Oh, also, this particular troll, his hand is the same as his belly button.
It's true.
But then, of course, if everyone wearing the evil team uniform happens to be an orc, or if every orc happens to have chosen Team Evil, the game wouldn't exactly be communicating that difference very well.
Bite me.
So who cares?
Then why does it matter?
Literally, who cares? And also, did he say it's important that there's a difference between choosing Team Evil and being born evil? And also, if every orc happens to be evil, then the game is not communicating the difference between choosing and being evil very well. Did he just say that? So is he literally saying the only way to make a good game is to take a race that should be evil and make some of them good? Is he literally implying that?
He's definitely implying that.
Oh man, it makes me mad. No, I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm smiling.
I'm exasperated.
Broadly.
I am too, but I'm exasperated.
It's so stupid.
A quick fix here would be to show some diversity in the evil team's hiring practices. For instance, with evil humans and elves as well as orcs. Or conversely, introduce orcs who have chosen good and neutral as well as evil.
Why? And also, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Why should I have to do that? Also, it does make for an interesting storyline. That is true. When you say, hey, look, all these people are bad, and then one comes up and says, hey, I don't like those people. I look like them. I'm a member of that race. I am intellectually different, and I am not like them. That makes for an interesting part of the story is getting over the distrust of that person when you already know that they're all bad. And then you put them there and say, now why isn't he bad? And then that does make for an interesting part of the story. I get that. But then does he wind up being good anyway? Like the bad guys in the War of the Gods, it was the everlasting dragons. And you think of the gods as being the good guys and the dragons as being the bad guys because it was time for the Age of Gods to happen, and the dragons were trying to prevent the Age of Gods from coming up. The Age of the Dragons should have still been going on, and it's time for the Age of the Gods. So the gods fought to bring about the Age of the Gods, and then one of the dragons turned out to be on the side of the gods. Seath the Scaleless was on the side of the gods, and he betrayed the dragons. But then now it's back to this, and it's time for the age of the gods to end, and it's time for the dark age of man to begin, and now the gods are fighting to preserve the age of gods. So now wouldn't that make the gods the bad guys? And Seath the Scaleless is on the side of the gods, so now he's a bad guy. So was he ever a good guy? Because he's on the side of the people who we know now to be bad guys, and so it makes it too complicated.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, being complicated here. It's too much, because think about it this way. What would you do if you made, you're playing some Dungeons & Dragons, and you've created this beautiful world where there's all this choice, and there's so much, all this stuff, and you get a third of the way into the game, and one of your characters, one of your players, your actual people sitting around the table in front of you goes, I don't agree with your moral quandary. I'm joining the other side. That's okay? Because we now have the choice to be good or evil, because everyone's making the choice to be good or evil, and you've laid out these plain, obvious moral dilemmas. Well, what if they make the wrong one? Well, is that allowed? Are you allowed to do that? You take them out of the game, they fight the party.
Yeah, I actually had a dungeon master that did that one time. It was interesting. I'll give him that. It was very interesting. It turns out the bad guy was a good guy from the beginning. He was just after a different goal than the other good guys, and he was a good guy without any morals, and so he was willing to kill to accomplish his goal, but his goal was good. So he would raise villages, he would kill people, he'd do whatever, but his goal was good. And we had the choice later on to join with him or stay with the other good guys, because there were no bad guys. It was just good guys. And we had the choice at the end to do that. And we had the choice to decide which good guy we were with. And there was actually the very last session of that campaign was PvP. Because some of us chose one side, some of us chose the other.
But that's different. That's just the ending to Streets of Rage. I mean,
yeah,
that's fine.
It's
okay.
Exactly the ending to Streets of Rage.
But I mean, still, you haven't done. But that's still not doing what they're talking about. It's still not what they're talking about.
Hey, let's talk about how Tolkien and H.P. Lovecraft were almost certainly both at least a little autistic, and they wrote phenomenal stories. And my dungeon master that I was talking about writes really, really good stories for D&D, and he's more autistic than I am, and I think that's related somehow. And
autism savants.
Anyways.
And a good example of a series getting better and better at this over time is Mass Effect. Because in the first game, Commander Shepard never meets a nice Batarian or a fun Geth. But then, spoiler alert, most of these evil species turn out to be as complex and interesting as the human ones as the trilogy progresses.
Shut up, and here's why. You're making the point I was trying to make earlier, and here's the thing. You're trying to make a point here, but in Mass Effect, when you walk around a corner and there's a whole bunch of people with guns, and you know there's combat, do you stop and make sure that they're good or bad? Let's say you get to Mass Effect 3, where this is happening, where you see some of these people who would normally have been bad, and now they're good. You're just making, this is the point you made earlier about, it's interesting. Sure it is. If you walk around a corner, and there's 16 people holding guns, are you going to try to sneak up on them and kill them because you know they're bad guys? Or do you go, well, I've met one of these that isn't bad. Let's change the entire dynamic of the game.
You're not going to do that because you see the red health bar above their body and you know they're a bad guy.
Exactly. And same thing would be in a Dungeons & Dragons game. They're like, you encounter an entire group of these people. What is your reaction? I'm going to walk up. I'm going to see if they're friendly. I'm going to check on them. Not one. Not a random one, not one person, a group of people that you know are generally bad. Screw you for this analogy.
Earthman, one bite and you die.
All right, play it again.
Broad moral generalizations about species or culture not only doesn't make internal sense, but it also leads to less evocative, less rewarding worlds and games.
It makes perfect sense.
Why? It makes fantastic sense.
It makes perfect sense.
But we can solve that problem by following our best creative instincts to diversify, deepen, and complicate the worlds we create and its denizens.
Because racism.
I'm gonna play a sound effect right here.
Shut the fuck up. You're a fucking cunt. Shut the fuck up. You're a stupid cunt. Suck my dick.
Perfection.
And I might sing a song with you right now, Tyler, because it's because it's a song that people must sing together, and it goes like this. So let's all sing along, and we'll sing the chicken song.
I hate
As
this
soon
man.
as I start, so what's gonna happen is it's gonna say, "Let's all sing along and let's sing the chicken song," and it's just gonna be beep.
Just assume we said
Okay.
something there.
Yeah. So we just I want you guys to listen to the chorus of "Chicken Talk" by Richie Cavanaugh. Just do it.
It's everything we're trying to say.
This way, players won't be incentivized to make snap judgments about our game's orcs or aliens or undead based on moral absolutes or body types. Instead, we'll all be driven to investigate, explore, and learn. Our players will invest themselves more in our games, and because they're human, ask the hard questions to push our design into even more enriching and unexpected places. Plus, maybe if we ditch this whole evil races line of thinking, if one day orcs or extra-dimensional horrors or even isekai protagonists pop out of a portal, they'll offer us humans the same courtesy.
I wouldn't.
No.
No.
You're just going to roll the dice every time you see something you know is normally bad.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to die.
Oh, I'm gonna roll the dice every time I see something I know is normally bad, and it's gonna be a D20 to hit.
I'm going to
my
be rolling
sword.
for initiative. Got him.
Yeah.
No, that's
screwed,
it.
it's over.
We're done.
Yeah, that's the end of the. Good God.
It's so like, we're not saying it because it's racist. Look, we're not saying it because it's racist. But also, let's make everything twice as complicated, because otherwise, it would be racist.
It'd be racist. Oh man, that's so stupid.
I don't want
I
to talk
just-
anymore about it.
I hate people, man.
I'm depressed now. This is the
Well,
longest video we've
let's
ever
see.
done, and I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. The thing is, it's not quite gonna hit because we did. There's so much recording before time that's just gonna be us jabbering about nothing. There's gonna be enough cut it's gonna stick around an hour and a half, which isn't enough to divide it into two. Let me look at this. So this episode is gonna pop up on November 2nd. What are we recording on the 4th, Tyler?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have a
by the time
calendar in
you've
front of
heard-
me.
yeah. By the time you've heard this, you will have. I put it on Discord. By the time you've heard this episode, we will have already recorded part 2 of the Way of Kings book club. So, yay for that. The next thing we'll be recording after that is so when you hear this, the next thing we'll be recording, if you want to make comment about it, is whatever we're recording on the 4th. Because this is going to come up on the 2nd. Let me open up Discord here. Go to my thing. November 4 or December 4th. Whisper in Darkness book club episode. So any discussion you guys have, if you want to put up anything about opinions, thoughts, questions, comments regarding the Whisperer in Darkness, you can put that in the. You can put that in the book club discussion. I know I made a statement below this point is discussion after part 2 of The Way of Kings. Ignore that. Well, don't do anything beyond part 2 of Way of Kings yet, because it's not. Well, I guess by the time that you've heard this, it will have already been recorded. So part 2 of Way of Kings. So you can go ahead and, I guess, go ahead and start making your discussion about part 3 if you want. But
Do whatever you
I'm not
want.
gonna-
Time isn't even real.
yeah, I'm not going to put up a thing that says do that until then, if I even remember to do that. But go ahead and put up discussion, if you like, regarding Whisper in Darkness. Hopefully, I can look. There'll be a few points in there, and I can look at that, and we can bring it up in our book club episode. Expect another retardedly short synopsis from me. That's what I do best. It's the only reason why it's the only thing I'm any good at doing in regards to these book club things. And that'll be about it. So, Yeah, I was
Yeah,
going
to
to go over
wrap
the
it
whole
up.
schedule, but I need to
No, who
change
does that?
this. Remnant, December 11th. Remnant is not going to be on December 11th. That's going to be the Innsmouth Chronicles. Is on December 11th.
I'm going to summarize everything you just said. Time is a social construct, and everything is permissible.
Nothing is sacred. Everything is permitted. Good night, everybody.
Have fun.